What is up, DTube, Steam blockchain? So today I basically want to try a different thing here. Well, I did this with one other person, I think, last year, and that was I went over a tweet and what I thought about it. Today I want to go over a Trump tweet from last year about Bitcoin because I don't know, it's just interesting, especially now when we have Hex. What does a Hex well? What does a hex well think about this tweet? So, being a hex well, let's go over this and see what I think. So, this tweet basically said from Trump, this is from 2019, July the 12th, and this is, and I quote, I'm not a fan of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, which are not money and whose value is highly volatile based on thin air. Unregulated crypto assets can facilitate unlawful behavior, including drug trade and other illegal activity. So the first thing I want to say already here is, I mean, a little bit is hypocrisy here from Trump to say this. In some aspects I agree with some of these things, but in some other ways I don't agree at all. So first of all, the US dollar, as I understand, is used mostly for for illegal activity, the US dollar, okay? So it's like if that one is already doing the most illegal activity with paper US dollar, it becomes a little bit hypocrisy to say that Bitcoin is worse, because Bitcoin is not worse than US dollar. But I agree with some aspect here that Trump is saying. For example, he say, well, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are not money. I would agree that they're not being used as money at the moment. So I guess Trump is kind of correct there. Yeah, I don't think anyone is really using Bitcoin as money. And I agree also that the value is highly volatile, uh, especially with the high value is highly volatile. So he wrote this tweet last year when they had this plus token scam on Bitcoin that pumped the value from $3,000 to $14,000 using scam money. So, so yeah, the price is highly volatile, and I don't agree. I don't think people should buy Bitcoin because it's super manipulated at the moment, and I don't think it's good for people. And I think the Bitcoin has had problems since 2014. So I kind of agree with him over there that yes, it's highly volatile, and I don't think Bitcoin is anything good for the average person to get into right now. And yes, the value. I mean, then you say based on thin air. Well, I'm not really sure if I agree that the value is based on thin air because there is like a trading value, like there's a market, and people agree with a certain price. So the market sets the price basically. So I'm not sure if it's based on thin air really, because if we would put that argument if we would use that argument, then you can do that same kind of argument, I guess, with the paper US dollar. It's like based on someone's belief that it's actually worth something. So it's kind of the same as the US dollar. And then it says unregulated crypto assets can facilitate unlawful behavior, including drug trade. I think this is actually a big problem. Like, I don't like seeing drug trade go up, and it seems like most of them are kind of using Bitcoin. It seems like many people are paying for drugs with Bitcoin, and I don't really like that. I don't want to see more people do drugs. So I kind of agree with him over there that I don't think that more drugs is good for anyone. And it's kind of sad there that Bitcoin is used for that a lot. So, not to become too moralistic, but I don't think more drugs in society is kind of good. I don't think it's good for the individual, and I don't think it's good in general for society. So, me as a hex, well, like, how do I kind of look at this? Well, I think things have kind of improved since July the 12th, because on July 12th, 2019, we did not have hex. And hex, I think it solves many of these problems, like that it's highly volatile or that people are using it. Since hex, most people have it locked up. That means that they're probably not going to do so much crazy degenerate things with their hex coins. They're mainly going to store it as digital gold, by stake it and get trustless interest instead. And this is something that they only can get after a long period of time of staking, and then they can kind of cash out. But just because you have this long period of time where you don't have your value really, like you're just like saving it for the future, that means you have a lot of time to think about how to use it in responsible ways. So I think that Hex solves many of these things that Bitcoin couldn't really solve, right? So trustless interest for the masses is really interesting with Hex. This is something that did not exist July 12th, 2019, when Trump wrote this tweet. So I think that Hex can solve many of these things, and it's really interesting, like with crypto, because it's almost like it seems like it's going to take a long time to get it into people's hands, but it seems like the best way at the moment is to do it with Hex, where people are allowed to print their own value, but they only take it out in the future, like longer in the future. It seems like people need to have a way to be able to print their own value with smart contracts, and that is something that we're starting to see now, that is starting to grow now. And that basically means that people eventually are not going to be dependent on a state or anything like that to sort of have value, and that is kind of awesome. And they're not either going to have this horror show of watching something that is highly volatile like Bitcoin is, where we have seen the horrors of it, how it actually wrecks people and make people lose a lot of money because people can sell it at any time. And if you want to sell your hex at any time, that means that you're going to get punished hard, and you're going to reward the other stakers that are more loyal. And this is a mechanism that you can't have in the Bitcoin. So I think Hex solves a lot of these things that the Bitcoin suffers from. Uh, One other issue I think with Bitcoin is that it's so hard for the average person to grasp and to play around with, just because it has such a high price at the moment. Hex, because it has more units, it has a lower price, so more people can easier get into that and sort of play around with it. And that you also have decentralized exchanges like Uniswap, and you hold your own keys with kind of MetaMask. It just makes a better environment where you're removing a lot of the middlemen, and you just get a nicer experience. So yeah, that's what I want to talk a little bit about today. So that's my thoughts, a little bit quick. So I agree with some things and I don't agree with some other things. But I think Hex solves a lot of these things that Bitcoin never could solve. Yeah, have a great day, YouTube and Steam blockchain. Bye bye.